Hey guys, for this video, we're going to be doing a lived-in blonde. My client is normally super bright, but she's a new mom, so we're going to transition to more of a lived-in color. As I'm getting ready to do her foils around her hairline, I'm noticing all these little baby hairs that are growing back after, you have a baby and then you lose your hair. So I'm pulling these aside because I want to make sure that I don't touch those really fine baby hairs. One thing, you don't want it to look like breakage because you highlighted the hair and then it's short and looks like breakage. So let's just pull those little fine pieces aside and start doing the highlights behind them. Because we are doing more of a lived-in blonde, I'm not going as heavy and as bright around the hairline as what I normally would do. She did say she wanted like a bold money piece, but even still, I want it to stand out, but still try to have as soft as grow out as possible. And that also goes for the highlights around her face too. So the first one or two foils directly on her hairline, or with those little regrowths just behind the hairline, the first foils are going to be really fine, and then I'm going to do a little bit stronger of a weave afterwards to give her a little bit more brightness. It's going to sit off the hairline a little bit more, so when she pulls her hair back, that first foil that we do will be a little bit softer, and it won't have like as strong of a line of demarcation as it grows out. At this point, for all of her foils through her whole head, I'm not running anything through the ends of her hair, just because we normally do her pretty bright anyways. But I'm guessing that while her hair processes, her new growth is going to get really bright, and then her ends are going to look like they need to be re-lightened up a little bit. They're probably sitting at like a level 9 or so. So right now, I'm just going to set all of her ends aside, and then after her hair is almost done processing, then I'm going to go back through all of her foils and incorporate her ends into the lightener. If you're new to my channel, hello, I'm so happy to have you here. And if you've never watched my blonding videos before, then the reason why I like doing the hairline foils like this is because when the hair pulls back into like a ponytail, it'll look as if the sun just naturally highlighted their hair. If you go like straight up the side of the head, then that's what creates lines in the hair, and what clients will call like racing stripes is when they pull their hair back, they get these like super like defined streaks, lines going back in their hair, and then the growth's really bad. So a lot of my clients, all of my clients prefer that we just do their highlights like this. I've never had anybody say not to. I've had people come to me specifically because of foiling my clients' hair like this around their hairline because they prefer how much softer it looks as it grows out. So that's something that you guys can do if your clients aren't happy with like their foils around their hairline. I would definitely try to do something like this. That way, if they want something a little bit more low maintenance, this is perfect for that. If they want something a little bit stronger, I would still maybe do the first one or two foils directly on the hairline as a weave, and then the following highlights you can go through and do slices if they want it a little bit extra more bold. Now that we're going into her money piece, I'm trying to go back a little bit further because, again, I don't want to get those baby hairs that are growing like at the corners of her forehead. So I'm going to go a little bit above that and get these weaves. And she parts her hair straight down the center, so it's not like she flips her hair on the side and she's going to see this, but I just want to make sure that she has even connection all the way around her hairline, especially if somebody has more of like a widow's peak, or no, I don't think she has a widow's peak, but somebody like if somebody doesn't have a straight across forehead or like a rounded hairline around the forehead. She kind of has more of an angular line on her forehead. So if I was to just go straight down the center, which is where she parts her hair, then I would really just be getting the peak of basically that triangle point in the center. And then she would have dark hair on the sides. So for all of my foils, because especially if you're doing a blonde, that's one thing that they always complain about is when they get their hair done, if somebody just foils like straight down the center of the mohawk section and then they go to like pull their hair back, they feel like the corners of their forehead are dark. They call them like dark. I feel like I got these dark holes like in my head. And so that's why when I do my hairline foils, I always make sure that I have even connection all the way around the hairline. You can see here that these foils that I just did sit right at the top of her hairline foils on the side. So you'll see here that I'm going from the center out to make sure that I have even connection, like right above the temples. That way when she pulls her hair back, she's going to have nice brightness all the way around her hairline. So I'm just going to do a fine weave. Again, you can see I'm starting where she parts her hair straight at the center and going out from there. And this first foil is going to be nice and subtle. And then, so you can see if I just went straight down the center, even if I packed in like 3 or 4 foils, because it comes to a point in the center, I probably wouldn't get connection, like to the hair, to the sides of the hairline, to the temple. And then even if I did, it would just be like one chunk, like right in the front that you would highlight. So do your foils like this, where you're making sure that you have even brightness all the way around. And then these, you'll see after I have my full connection, then I'm going to go through where she actually parts her hair more down the center and then do my detailed work right there to create the type of money piece that she's wanting. Let me tell you guys, things are happening. Like the day that I can have a mannequin with a widow's peak and I can foil just straight down the center and show you guys what I'm talking about a little bit more clear. Like I am so looking forward to that. Thank you, Jesus, for all the blessings that you've given me. But I just worry that like you guys don't understand what I'm saying. So I want to be able to have a mannequin that I can show you what happens when you just foil straight down the center, or also when you foil just straight up the sides of the head and like the lines that it creates. So now again that we are doing her detailed money piece that she's wanting, I'm going to start going straight down the center, because you can see now that we have even connection all the way around her hairline through the sides. And this right now, because those foils that meet in the center, like it's probably barely anything. It's probably just a tiny little strip of a money piece. So this foil that we're going to go in right now is going to be the one to brighten her up a little bit more, give her more of that detailed money piece that she wants. Again, we normally do her money piece really bright, so I would probably do like a slice just straight up to her scalp, no back comb. But because we're doing a little bit more of a lived-in color, the first foil I did pretty close up to her scalp. I did a really fine weave. The second foil, I'm doing a little bit thicker of a section, and I'm back combing and weaving all of these. But you'll see as I work my way back over the next few foils, I'm taking larger sections, I'm back combing them, I'm doing deeper of a weave, and then also I'm feathering it up into her roots, because I want this to be kind of like a nice transitional money piece to where it's bright, but then it like softens up the further back it goes. So you'll see when she's done that, she's kind of bright right up to the scalp, but then her money piece softens up like an inch off of her hairline. It blends nicely into her natural color. So you'll see here, like I'm doing some deeper weaves. This section is quite a bit larger, and that's going to give her a nicer natural root shadow without having to go in there and actually having to tap her roots. I personally, like, if I have to do a root shadow, I will. But you'll see when especially when we're doing like such bright blonde clients. If you're lifting a client already to like a level 10 and then you're going through and tapping her roots, and then next time she wants her hair done, now you're going to have to lift through that old root shadow that probably has faded but stained her hair. And so then that might create it to be like a warm band in her hair, or maybe you can't get rid of it all the way. So I generally don't like doing a root shadow unless I absolutely have to, I won't do it. So doing like a really nice heavy back comb will create your own natural root shadow when you comb the hair out and everything. It will soften it at the roots. It will help give it a more natural blend without having to actually go in there and apply color again over that nice pretty blonde hair that you just lightened. By the way, if you hear obnoxious squawking, it's because I'm sitting at my son's football practice at 8 in the morning. Heaven forbid I can't sleep in on my day off. And there's a crow or seagull or something that wants to get in on this voiceover. And it like every time I'm talking, it's squawking. So if you hear something like that, that's like, do I hear a bird? Yes, you do. And it's in my voiceover. Okay, bye. Keep in mind when you're doing your client's money piece, do it based off of what they want. My client wants to be able to go, she like maybe comes in like 2 or 3 times a year, but now having a baby, like maybe it's just gonna be once or 2 times. So I'm really trying to make sure that her money piece is super blended and like grows out like really, like you can't even tell that there's grow out. And so if your client wants to have like a stronger money piece, then you could go through and do like slices and like back home the slices, or just do it straight up to the scalp. Like do this, talk to your client, see what kind of money piece that they want, and then you can go through and just like foil it differently than what I'm doing. Like there's so many options for how you can do a money piece. All right, now we're at the meat and potatoes of the video. We're going to go through, my client usually likes her hair kind of dimensional. And so I went directly off of her part and I grabbed like a pretty thick section. I backcombed it very heavily, but she wants a little bit more of a pieciness. So that's why I'm doing some thicker weaves, and we're backcombing them, and it will again create a little bit more of a root shadow. I'm doing a very thick back comb though, so these are not going to be tight up to her scalp. Like these are going to sit off of her part a little bit more and create a little bit more of a natural root shadow. We're not like, none of these foils are going to go like up to her scalp. I want to make sure like it already looks good. It looks really blended. It kind of has a natural grow out already. And then she'll be able to literally go however long she wants in between services, because it's not going to look like grow out at all. I will just say, if you're doing your foils drop down off the scalp, make sure however far down you are on one side, you're equally far on the other side. Like that gives me the worst anxiety. You'll see me flip back and forth between sections and like reopen a foil to see exactly how far off the scalp am I. So make sure that if you're dropping your foils down a little bit further, that you're staying consistent throughout the rest of your foils, because you don't want to look like you have uneven application. Because my client has such nice amount of natural grow out, I really don't want to go in. Obviously, we're not going in heavy handed because we want to make sure that she can just like maintain her natural roots. So you'll see that in between the sections, I am doing a little bit more of a subsection in between all of these foils. That way we are keeping a lot of her natural dimension that she already has. But I am going to go through and do larger like weaves in between. If you're doing a lot of subsections in between these foils, do not go in there with like such a fine weave because those highlights are going to like not exist. Unless of course they want to have like the super fine baby foils, maybe that's what they want. But if you have somebody that wants dimension and you're leaving a lot of natural hair in between the foils and doing a larger subsection, make sure that you go in there with like a really thick, chunky weave so that it stands out and pops, and that way they don't lose those random highlights that you're putting through their hair. This back section, I'm basically laying her hair down and then picking up little strands depending on where her hair falls, and that's going to be my section. So make sure that you don't just like go take your subsection straight across. Pick your weave off of that because chances are the hair's not going to fall the right way. So make sure that you just lay the hair down and then grab your weave off of how the hair lays, because that's usually where the cowlick is. So if you just grab your hair like from a slice and then weave it off of that, like it could lay differently when it's actually done. So I just like to take that back section, that very first foil, and just pick up the hair as it's naturally laying. You can see that this underneath foil is a lot thicker and chunkier than that previous foil that was right on top that was like really fine little strands of hair. And that's because I know that she likes to be nice and bright normally, but just right now we're doing more of a lived in color. So for my clients that like to be a little bit brighter, the first one or two foils directly off of their part, I'll do really fine weaves, backcomb weaves, little teeny little kind of like slices. Even if we're doing like on her hair, we're doing like thicker weaves, but still backcombing it so it blends really good. The underneath foils that I did after that were a little bit heavier. That's because I know that she likes to be brighter blonde, but I want the brightness to fall more underneath her hair because we want to maintain like softer grow out. But I know when she has like movement in her hair and all that stuff, I want those brighter pieces to show through. So that's also something that you can do for somebody that's wanting to maintain a little bit more of a lived in blonde, is to do the underneath foils a little bit brighter than the top ones. All right, so now that we're getting underneath the foils, and this is like exactly what I was talking about just earlier about how I'm doing like heavier foils underneath the hair. So you'll see these next few foils that I do, they're like not defined weaves. They're basically like a thick slice of hair. Maybe like I'm weaving the hair but still grabbing like a full section. I just want like dimension and differential like amounts of hair picked up in that section, so that way it's not like a baby light or like too precise of a weave or whatever. So you can see that this is like definitely a lot heavier than those top foils. And that's exactly what I want, is to make sure that she can have some brighter pieces, even if it falls underneath, because she'll see that movement through her hair as she styles it. As we're finishing up with her application, I'm thinking about going through and painting through the ends to brighten them up. But I'm realizing now that I actually don't want to do that quite yet. Unless it's like a lot of her natural, then I will. Like, I think this section is just mostly her natural and I want to brighten it up a little bit more. So I'm going to paint through the end in this area. But where she's already blonde and I want to brighten it up, I'm going to wait until she maybe just has like a few minutes left towards the end of her processing time, because I don't want to cause any damage. I want to brighten her up a little bit more, but she doesn't have to sit for 45 minutes in process, because she only has to lift like 1 to 1.5 levels. So and also when I do that, like, I'll use my same bleach that I had finished my last foils with, because it's a lot more gentle and soft at this point. After I'm done going through and painting through her ends, I'm going to go back through immediately and through her original foils that we started with and try to see how the ends look. Does it blend pretty good? Do I need to go through and paint through the ends of the hair? Because usually blonde hair, especially if they like cooler tones, it can dull down, especially if they use like purple shampoo, then that adds some like buildup to their hair and they need to re-brighten. So sometimes I'll go through and relighten just like the last few minutes, and I'll just use like the previous bowl of bleach that I was using. That way it's gentle and just gives me that little lift that I need. And here she is after processing. And what I'm toning her with is my Blonde Solutions liquid toner, my Rose and Chrome. I love mixing these two together. This is probably one of my new favorite ways to tone a really nice bright blonde. I do a larger amount of the Rose and then just a little bit like less, maybe a quarter of the Chrome. And that's because this chrome is powerful. If your client wants super icy platinum, like silvery grayish, whatever blonde, like this is for you. I've had people complain like it's too cool. So I no longer use it on its own unless it's like a lot of warmth that I'm trying to kick out. But I will mix it with the rosé because it gives it a really pretty bright blonde, but tones everything away that you don't want. And I let this sit for like 10 to 15 minutes or so. As you saw there that I had those like the hairline foils set aside because those are really fine and will really suck and absorb the toner. So it doesn't matter what toner I'm using. I will always set aside the hairline foils because I want to make sure that those stay like nice and bright. So I'll usually do that like the last few minutes and run the toner through the hairline foils. So we're going to comb out her hair. I have it in slow-mo right now, not slow-mo, but just like actual like speed because people will be like, you're gonna break her hair. You're being too rough on her hair. This is like the speed in which I'm combing her hair and being really gentle. So like when you see me in fast forward, yeah, it does look kind of rough, but like that's fast forward. Like it looks like I'm tearing her hair out, but I'm not. I'm actually being really gentle on her hair. So here, we're just going to dry her hair. And, okay, look at that money piece. Like, it's nice and bright right on the hairline, but you can see that it kind of, like, fades and, like, has a nice gradient towards the back. It fades really nicely. So we're just going to do a rough dry. And then I'm kind of, after, like, I kind of dried a little bit, I wanted to see if she was happy with the tone. Does she want to retone it to anything else? And she was happy with it just a little. Normally, she likes it kind of cooler. But she was happy with the amount of, like, warmth that she had to stay a little bit brighter. So we're just gonna finish the surface now. The curling iron that I'm using is a curling iron by Jay-Z Styles. I think it's called the Jagger. Am I wrong? Am I right? I don't know. It's been so long. But I like this one because the barrel is quite a bit longer, you know, because she has like her hair extension line. So this barrel is perfect for clients that have longer hair because if there's anything I can't stand, it's like a 5-inch barrel to curl hair. Like, what are we doing here? So this is perfect for having longer hair to have that nice long barrel. You'll be able to see a little bit better in the after shot, but look at her money piece. Like, I think it looks so pretty. You can see that it looks really bright, those really fine foils directly on her hairline that we did. But then when we started going down the center and back combing it, like, you can see how much softer it is. I think this turned out so pretty. My client was so happy with her hair. Now that she's cooled off her curls, do not comb through your curls when they're like freshly curled. Let them cool down. If you touch them and they're still warm, do not curl or comb through them because they will lose their shape. So after her hair is cooled down, then we're going to comb through it. Somebody asked me before, why do we comb through the curls? Because this is not the early 2000s anymore. We don't want prom hair curls. We want nice, like, just like pretty curls, like soft curls, soft waves. And also do what you want. Like, if you want to have like bouncy, like Shirley Temple curls, like that's on you and your client. But generally this is how people like their hairs, to comb the curls through. So look at how pretty. This is her before again. Lots of roots to work with. And here is the after. Look at how pretty, nice and lived in, some pieciness, blends up into her roots without having to do like a money piece. And I'm so glad we went through and like brightened through those ends again, because they definitely stand out and look nice and like extra bright blonde. She was so happy with this color. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you like this video. Obsessed with this money piece area. So pretty, gorgeous. I love it. You can see how it just like fades back like through the like right off the money piece. It's brighter, but like where we back combed it a little bit further off the scalp, like it blends so nicely. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I hope you like this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.